Welcome to Toronto Sports Rush. We are breaking news. Excuse me, everybody. It's such a crazy morning. I completely forgot the line, but welcome to Toronto Sports Rush. We are live this morning with breaking news. The Toronto Maple Leafs have made a big splash in the offseason once again, acquiring defenseman Darren Raddysh from the Tampa Bay Lightning in a sign and trade deal. I'm here to discuss it with Pierre McGuire. Pierre, this move has major implications for this Toronto franchise, does it not?
No question about it, Kyle. I think the biggest thing is the Toronto Maple Leafs new management group recognized something that you and I have been talking about for almost 2 years. The Toronto Maple Leafs are too easy to forecheck against. So now they've added two puck-moving defensemen, one from Philadelphia, Emile Andre. Even though he's undersized, he's a very good puck mover. And the next one is Darren Raddysh, a 30-year-old right-hand shot who had 26 power play points last year, 10 of them goals, 16 of them assists. He's a tremendous player. He's a 70-point defenseman this year. I admire what the management team's trying to do. I know they're going to be doomsayers out there saying he's 30 years old. It's an 8-year contract. It's $8 million a year. Well, that $8 million a year isn't even a top 10 contract in the National Hockey League for defensemen anymore.
Pierre, the contract like this, of course, does come with some risk, but let's talk about the actual deal for a second here. He was going to be a free agent in the market, and he was touted as the number 1 or 2 available free agent this offseason. The Leafs scooped in and got him. I guess they had some exclusivity to negotiate his contract with this, and in exchange for that, they gave up a 5th-round pick this year. Now, that's a low price to give for this guy, but 8 years for a 30-year-old defenseman who just had his best ever career year does come with some risk, does it not?
It sure does. I mean, the 30-year-old issue and 8 years is a lot. But what happens if the contract's good for 5 of those 8 years? Then it's a home run. You got to look at it that way.
Yeah.
If you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you've got Austin Matthews, you've got Willie Nylander, you've got a brand new coach. Your power play was anywhere from 12 to 25 in the league, depending on any given night. You got to be much better on the power play. 2 years ago, when the power play was very good, the Leafs were a very, very good and competitive team. Getting Darren Raddysh is going to help that power play a lot. It's going to open up a lot more for Nylander. It's going to open up a lot more for Nyes. It's going to open up a ton more for Austin Matthews. When they lost Mitchell Marner, they lost the brains and the ability to score on the power play with consistency. Now they've got a huge cannon from the back end that's going to make a massive difference. And I know people are going to say, well, he was doing that in Tampa, and they had Kucherov, and they had Braden Point, and they had this. And let me tell you right now, Austin Matthews is a really good guy and a real good power play player. Willie Nylander is a really good power play player. This is really a positive thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs and their fan base. I'm so encouraged, Kyle, that they actually are paying attention to the fact that they were way too easy to forecheck against, and now they're actually getting puck movers on the back end. That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Let's dive a little bit deeper into his numbers from his career year last year, because it was elite at any level from any angle. He has scored 22 goals. He had 70 points. He averaged 22 minutes and 42 seconds of ice time, which was 3 minutes over his previous career high. That's a big number for them. He has that big shot from the point, and he averaged 3 minutes and 45 seconds of power play time per game last year. And we know incoming head coach Jim Hiller, he's a big power play focused coach with lots of experience coaching the power play specifically, Pierre.
You nailed it. You nailed it 100%. One of the big things, and I know we talked about it when Jimmy got hired, was I said, he's going to make the power play better. I didn't know they were getting Darren Raddysh. The fact that they didn't have to give up any live body from their roster, that's a huge thing. People shouldn't worry about the contract length. The contract length is what it is. That's why it's a sign and trade. If Toronto tries to get him, it's a 7-year deal, not an 8. I respect Tampa and Julian Breezeball a lot. They know this guy's been a good soldier for them for a long time. He hasn't had an extended NHL career. They wanted to give him an opportunity to go someplace where he wanted to go. Who said that going to Toronto is a bad thing? You can see there's a Toronto guy or close enough Ontario guy who wants to come back and play for the Leafs. I have a ton of respect for this. I think it's a great move for Toronto. I don't pay attention to the length of this contract. And like I said, that $8 million a year AAV, that's not even a top 10 contract for a defenseman in the National Hockey League. And just if you don't believe me, Cale Makar and Miro Heiskanen are both players that are below the $9 million threshold for top 10 contracts for defensemen in the National Hockey League. So is Lane Hudson, by the way, and so is Jake Sanderson. So this is not an outrageous contract.
Pierre, before we continue on, I'd like to encourage all of our viewers to please like this video and subscribe to bring you all this great content. But moving through that, Pierre, oh, we lost our feed for a second and we're back. Moving through that, Pierre, this type of contract is in fact what you get a lot of the time now in the NHL. These long deals, and of course, these long deals that they're signing for the front half of the contract in order to establish that few years might be a wash.
Well, I agree with that. And I think the biggest thing why teams are doing that, Kyle, they don't want to be in a position where, they bridge a guy. Because if you, in this case, there was not going to be a bridge. He was going to be a UFA. But with those younger players, those long contracts you're talking about, if you bridge players, and I'll use PK Subban as an example, Montreal bridged him, and it ended up costing him tens of millions of dollars because he was a star player on a bridge deal. And eventually they had to move the player for partly contract, partly because of diminishing play. But I'll just tell you right now, I think this is a good move for Toronto. And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first person to apologize. They needed a point shot. They got it. They needed more puck movement. They've got it with two guys that they've added in Andre and with Raddysh. They needed some more size and gumption. He was a plus 20, even a little bit more. I think he was like plus 24 last year, if I remember correctly, with Tampa. So he's a plus player on the back end. There's a lot to like about this signing. I'm really encouraged for Toronto. These are two very solid moves.
Okay, so I'll ask you this very directly, Pierre. Is this the puck moving defenseman the Toronto Maple Leafs needed, or guy available to them?
Right now is probably the best guy available to them. I mean, I know that I brought the name up to you a long time ago, and now people are talking about maybe he's available. Well, maybe he's not. We don't know. Roman Josi would have been a perfect fit 2 years ago. Remember when we talked about him? I was like, that's the one piece that really is holding Toronto up. If they could ever get him, it'd be huge. There are other guys out that you're not getting Quinn Hughes. I mean, that's just a problem. Minnesota gets Quinn Hughes, it totally changes the landscape. Darren Raddysh is not Quinn Hughes. He doesn't have that ability, but that shot makes him a lethal weapon. That's going to be a very, very potent Toronto power play next year. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and this also addresses another thing we heard a lot about, wanting to deal with John Shaka. How about that? Because he's been the most active person so far this offseason.
You got to stop listening, not you, but people have to stop listening to all these experts on the internet, because most of those people that are experts on the internet have never earned a paycheck in the National Hockey League as a scout or a management person or a coach. The truth is that anybody will deal with anybody. That's just the way it goes. Sometimes their relationships, Bill Torrey used to do a lot of deals with different general managers. Glenn Sather used to do a lot of different deals with general managers. Craig Patrick used to do a lot of different deals with different. It doesn't matter. You do have relationships, but nobody's going to shut somebody else down because they don't like them. That's just silly for business. Totally silly.
So, yeah, and the point you make is well taken, Pierre, in that we have to give this management team a chance. They're clearly attempting to leave their mark on this team to the best of their ability right now. And for better or worse, however this turns out, you have to admire that they are completely going for it and asserting themselves in this market.
100%. I really respect what they're doing. I wasn't in love with the hires, but I can tell you right now, I never prejudge. And right now, just judge based on what they're doing. And they're being proactive. They're identifying organizational weakness. They're trying to fix it. I think they're doing it in a prudent way. I have a ton of respect for the way Toronto Maple Leafs are doing their business right now. And you're not the only show I'm going to talk about this on. The truth of the matter is a lot of people don't like the Leafs outside of the marketplace, and they want to slam them all the time. That's grossly unfair, not appropriate in this case. Look at the work, evaluate the work, and then make comments. The work so far has been really solid. I give them a total A as a management team right now. And I know people are disappointed in Jim Hiller's hiring. Let's see what he does when he gets there as a coach. Let's see. Don't prejudge. Let's see what he does.
Pierre, does this change anything with the Morgan Riley's future with the team?
I think it's going to be very interesting to watch that evolve. That's why I'm kind of excited because it's going to be a big summer of evolving things for a lot of teams in the league. Toronto's going to be one of them, and that means I get to do more work with you, Kyle.
Well, that's what really matters here, Pierre, right? What about his brother Taylor? He's a bottom six forward with the Rangers. Any
Yeah,
chance he finds his way to Toronto too?
I don't know about that one. I've been watching Taylor obviously for a long time. Just say I was watching Darren for a long time. I'd be surprised. He did some good things with the Rangers last year, but he is a bottom six player. Who knows? You never know with different things around the league. But I'm really encouraged. I got to tell you, this is for Leaf fans. I can tell you, I coached for a long time and I watch a lot of games. Toronto had issues moving the puck out of their own zone. That's why there was a lot of stagnant forwards last year. They were picking glass out of their teeth because they were getting railed up against the wall most of the season. It's been like that for a while. They've got to find guys that can move it better, and they found two of them so far, and I think they'll have more going forward.
Okay, Pierre, as usual, we appreciate you immensely coming on here to break this all down. We know you're going to have a very, very busy day, but if you have any final words on this trade, we'd love to see you very soon because I'm sure we're going to be hearing from this team again shortly.
I'm just really excited. I think this is a great piece of news. I love the fact that Julian Breezeball respected what Darren Raddysh had done for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He gave the guy an opportunity to go to his hometown team. He lit a sign and trade at 8 years. That's a great piece of work for Darren Raddysh and his agents, and it's really good for the Leafs. I think this contract's going to hold water for probably 4 to 5 years. The last 3 or 4 years, probably not as good, but that's okay. The one thing I can tell you, the power play in Toronto will be way more consistent, and that's really a good piece of news for them.
It's great to hear, Pierre. Thanks again for joining us. I'll be seeing you on Toronto Sports Rush next week.
Thanks, Kyle.